Welcome back to GAA Fan TV. It is match day 5 this weekend of the National Football League, and I'm joined here by Patrick Sharkey from GAA Zone to run through all this weekend's action. Certainly plenty to discuss, plenty to break down. We've got some big games in there. Tyrone are obviously taking on Kerry, two heavyweights, and you think of the classics and some of the games that Tyrone and Kerry have produced down the years. And I suppose things really begin to shapen up across all 4 divisions. Patrick, how's life with yourself? How are you getting on?
Yeah, I'm getting on fine and all the rest. But obviously, last semester of college of this undergrad, so don't know. I'm probably not producing the content I want to. Have the odd few Facebook posts for GZO, but definitely open to go full throttle in the summer again and produce more and more podcast stuff. But yeah, not too bad on the rest. It's been an up and down season as a Donegal fan so far. It's hard to know what to make, but we'll definitely discuss that in more detail. Yeah.
Yeah, and what have you made maybe of the league in general so far? I mean, there has been plenty of surprises in there. I mean, I think you were the ones on the show that actually said Roscommon were going to win the league. I think probably one of the few ones. I'm not too sure if they will win the league, but they're certainly, after 3 wins from 4, they're looking all right. So, what have you made of everything so far?
Davy Burke is he has a great record in the league as well. I think he's that kind of a manager. So definitely felt that Roscommon were going to do something there, because I knew they weren't going to win the All Ireland. So this to them could bring a lot of happiness, and they've only won one league title in the past. So it's it's obviously a big deal for them. But I just want I'm not too sure. Look, it should be, from a neutral point of view, it's been brilliant, because in the first 2 games, nobody had 0 points. Only one team in maximum points. 3 games in, no one has maximum points, and all the rest. And especially in Division 1, there's usually always a weapon boy. Kildare or Meath. Usually when they come up, they're the weapon boys and all that. But you don't get that anymore. There's no weapon boys. You have 8 strongly competitive teams and all the rest. And I say, used to be, 4 points would keep you up plenty of years now, but now you're looking at about 5 or 6 is probably going to have to keep you up. So definitely from the neutral, it's pretty intense and all the rest. And yeah, but it also means that it's going to take less points than it usually would to get to a final. So it's just the way it works, I guess.
Yeah, and I suppose we'll start with Division 1, and we might just remind ourselves of how the league table looks going into this weekend's game. So Mayo and Roscommon sitting on top with 6 points. Kerry and Galway in 3rd and 4th with 4 points. Monaghan in 5th with 4 points. Armagh and Donegal with 3 points. And Tyrone sitting bottom of the division with 2 points. So starting things off with Tyrone versus Kerry. Obviously, you think of the meetings between these two down the years. Tyrone have won the last 2 meetings. They won in the league last year, and of course the All-Ireland semi-final back in 2021 as well. Kerry's last win was in the league in 2021. It was the league semi-final when they won comprehensively in the end, scoring I think 6 goals it was in total that day. So what are we thinking for this one? I mean, both sides have been inconsistent. Tyrone have been very poor this year, 3 defeats from 4. But Kerry haven't exactly got going either. So, I mean, you'd fancy Kerry, but at the same time, Tyrone are as cute as anything.
I saw Conor McKenna, who's been on the show before. He put up a tweet there saying, basically Tyrone could be going for 4 years in a row of beating Kerry in some kind of competition, which is obviously it's a great compliment to Tyrone and all the rest. And Tyrone, so in their 4 games so far, they conceded 3 to Roscommon. They kept clean sheets against both Galway and Donegal. Beat us by 8 points too. So definitely comprehensive. And they lost to Galway, but still and they shipped 4 goals against Mayo. So they're becoming a lottery of a team. But still, I think it's going to be a draw. I think, maybe I'm just sitting on the fence and it's hard to decide. Maybe I'm just going for the easy thing there. But I think, Kerry aren't, they probably only took the balls out of the bags in training last week. Let's be honest about it. They're probably going to be later and stuff to get started and all the rest. So yeah, they can, relax stuff. They'll get, a one, probably about. They'll try and get about 3 more points in the last few games, stay up and all the rest, stay a Division 1 team, and then, go full throttle, win Munster again, and obviously more importantly, there's going to be a lot more games in the All-Ireland series this year with the whole group stages. So that's the Super 8s were obviously didn't do Kerry much favours, especially in 2018. So I definitely think, he's going to rest a few players and whatnot. But definitely, I don't know if Clifford would get a full 70 minutes, but if I have to be honest with you, I'm just going to say a draw will be the best way of going about it.
Yeah, because I suppose Kerry, both of their wins have obviously came at home, and away from home they've been fairly disappointing. Obviously beaten by yourselves, Donegal, and of course we're beaten as well by Mayo quite comfortably in the end. Mayo sort of dispatched of them quite early, but like looking at Tyrone, they do seem to have a bit of a soft underbelly, and you get the feeling that if Kerry can start strong, get a couple of points early on, maybe even get an early goal. Like I think Tyrone, I don't know what it is. Anytime the goings got tough for them in the last couple of weeks, or even this year, and even going back really since they won the All-Ireland, they do tend to fold. So you'd look at it and think if Kerry can start strong here, it'd be hard for Tyrone to keep up with them, especially with the Cliffords back on the side now as well.
Almost a fortress for Tyrone though. Like if it was in Kildare or Tralee, I would absolutely go for Kerry. If it was in a neutral venue, probably would go for Kerry again. But I just think I would still have to go. I still think, Kerry aren't going to bring a big travelling support up with them, unless they never really do, especially, to someone, a county this far north. So I feel that, you're looking at places probably going to be 95% Tyrone fans and stuff like so. Kerry will definitely be given a hostile reception and all the rest, and it won't be that well pleasing and stuff like. But still, we'll give it. I think we'll see Tyrone give it a good rattle and stuff, and they need to get their season on track and all the rest. So I think a draw is the right outcome and all the rest. But definitely elsewhere, I'd go for Kerry. But I know I would have to go for a draw.
Yeah, I think I'm going to edge towards Kerry. I think Tyrone just. Like I think there is plenty of talent there with the Canavans and Darren McCurry, and they've lost a good chunk of players obviously since their All-Ireland win in 2021, but they still have a strong base of their team, and you would look at them and think like surely they will go on and compete for an All-Ireland. Like they have the players and the talent to do so, but it just doesn't quite seem right for Tyrone at the minute. So that's why I'm going to edge towards Kerry to get the 3-point win. I think with the Cliffords back, Sean O'Shea back, I think you will see Kerry gradually improve. But I think at the same time, Tyrone, they're as cute as anything, and it wouldn't surprise me if they did go and get the victory. We've Roscommon taken on Mayo. There was a comment that came in here from Test Case who says, hi Aaron, Roscommon and Mayo will probably, if they be doing as they are doing right now, it would be that Roscommon Mayo in the Division 1 final. I suppose it's an interesting point. I mean, both of these are fit to play each other early in the championship as well. Like you get the feeling there might be a bit of shadow boxing going on here with the fact that these two, want to play each other in the championship, maybe a league final as well. So, these two will be getting used to each other as they always are.
This could be part of a free game series, and for all they might meet in an All-Ireland semi-final too. So it's it's gonna be tough and all the rest. But I think I know it's away in Roscommon, and they've made really good use of Hyde Park. They've made it something special this year, David Burke and all the rest. But I think Roscommon fans, I think, have already bought in to what David Burke's trying to do. And I don't think Mayo, I think most of them have bought into what Kevin McStay is trying to do, but just not yet. I think, because obviously Mayo, there's bigger expectations than there is Roscommon, because Roscommon didn't get anywhere closest in All-Ireland. And they certainly, so I feel like that's where all the expectations on, so I think, it's also a cross-border thing, and I think Kevin McStay might just have that insight on Roscommon and all the rest because he knows a lot of them and whatnot. Like, so I think, I think the difference that he has compared to all the other Division 1 managers is he knows Roscommon, so I would have to give Mayo the edge, even though it's Haley Park there. So I think they'll manage to squeeze past Roscommon by about, let me think, would it be 2 points? Yeah, I'll give it so I'll definitely give it I think Mayo has got more goals than Roscommon, so I'll give it a 2.1 for Mayo.
Yeah, like do you think it's too early to be jumping on the Mayo bandwagon? I mean, like I have seen on Twitter a lot of Mayo fans being very excited with the last two performances. I mean, Tyrone and and Kerry are two teams that have dished out a lot of painful memories to the Mayo fans down the years. And they obviously went out and beat them, and bullied them off the park, and scored 3-4 goals in either game. 7 goals I think in the last two games. Like, I mean, they've been absolutely flying. Like, but is it too early to jump on the bandwagon, or are Mayo fans right to have a lot of belief in what will happen this year?
All I would say to any Mayo fans watching here is that if you have any plans on July 30th, if you're working, you have a wedding, you have a party or anything like that there, do not clear it for the All-Ireland final. Genuinely don't. If you get the semi-final, maybe, but genuinely, do not clear your plans on July 30th for the All-Ireland final. Go about your business as normal. I'm sure most of them watch the All-Ireland final regardless of who's playing. But still, don't let it alter your life and all the rest. Like, just get to all the rest. Like, but all right. So no, I would. I think part of the thing of coming with such, a passionate fan base and stuff is that there are always people getting excited and rest. And, people think, just because there's a new manager, it's a whole new ball game and whatnot, like, and things there. But yeah, it's easy to buy into it and all the rest of them. And then the way they dispatched Tyrone and all the rest there. But sure, Kerry dispatched Tyrone quite easily in the league a few years ago. And we all know what happened in that semi-final. So, the league's the league, and I think it becomes less important because there's less of a gap between league and championship as well. Like, usually there was the month in between April, so they would have taken the league more seriously, but I don't think it's taken this serious anymore, especially with the new formats. So no, it's too early to jump on the bandwagon. But still, I don't blame them for going out and winning, but still, just don't be getting too far ahead of yourselves.
Yeah, Gavin says here, I think one of the bold predictions in the Donegal preview was Roscommon winning the league, so it would be funny if that happens. Keaton says Roscommon have no fear of Mayo, and playing at the Hyde should be enough to see the Rossies back to winning ways. Roscommon to win by 2. I suppose that's the thing with Roscommon, like, they have that doggedness about them, and especially at home, they're such a tough team to beat. No goals conceded in their opening 4 games. And you get the feeling as well that Mayo, like, the 2 big wins, I felt like it meant a lot for them to go out and beat Tyrone and Kerry. I don't know if it does mean a lot for them to go out and beat Roscommon, in all honesty, with the fact that, like, they're going to be playing each other early on in the championship. And you get the feeling that at some point Mayo maybe might start looking ahead because, look, they're not going to get relegated. Getting to a league final is a bonus, and winning it would be great. But they won the league a couple of years ago anyway. So, like, I think the most important thing for Mayo is just to stay up. I'm not too sure if the league really matters that much to them, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Yeah, but, like, it's all about momentum, like, all the rest, like, so, like, put it this way, right? They need to get, fans, if Mayo had a pretty, sour, didn't really do too much for the rest of the league, and all the rest, I think, fans would start feeling, they might not feel so confident, might not buy the tickets to the Roscommon game in the championship and all the rest, and they might not create the same atmosphere and stuff, like, probably similar to how there was very little Donegal fans go. So it has to be, you have to win and stuff, like, you need to get, I think Mayo fans would buy into their team more if they won the league, so from that perspective. So I think it would definitely do better on the supporter side of things there, but I don't know, with player welfare and stuff, it probably might not be the best idea. So yeah, I can see both sides of the argument and all the rest, but I think, hey, what's the worst thing about winning a league? It's not, it's something that should be celebrated. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think it would be big for Kevin McStay, definitely, to get silverware. It'd be a bit of a statement, certainly, to win the league in his first season. Shane says Hyde Park is a very big pitch. Will suit Mayo. So you're backing Mayo by 2 points?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a draw. I think I'm going to sit on the fence for this one. I think Mayo, they've already had 2 draws already, so I think there's a bit of value on them getting a third draw. And I think Roscommon, they just are very tough to beat. So I think it'll be a late draw, maybe Roscommon to snatch a late point, maybe in injury time. We've Armagh going up against Donegal. Donegal, obviously, your own county, 3 points so far from their opening 4 games. The opening day win against Kerry is their only win in their opening 4, and Armagh, in a similar scenario, actually, their only win was on their opening day, and that was against Monaghan. So I suppose, speaking of Donegal, first of all, like, what's the feeling like from a Donegal fan perspective? I mean, so far, I suppose it's been a mixed bag. I mean, you got the win against Kerry, which any win against Kerry is usually huge.
Yeah.
But I suppose the performances other than that haven't been particularly brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, we only converted 40% of our shots against Galway. Like there was the wides were, few and far between and all the rest there. But I think we'll definitely get the shooting boots on us there against Armagh. Like I definitely think it has to be better, like in all the rest there, and whatnot. Like, but still, I think he's brought through Paddy Carr and brought through some good young players. Luke McGlynn looks good. Johnny McGrody looks good as well. Keelan McColgan as well. We got that man little match against Kerry. They're three lads who made their league debuts this year as well. Like, so I think those three definitely have been shining lights for us and all the rest. But yeah, it's I'm not going to sit here and say it's wonderful and all the rest. Like, and but we're the county with the most players that played in the Sigerson Cup and all the rest, so that definitely hurt the start of the preparations, all the rest. So, and all the rest, and there's things happening above and all the rest. I'm not going to dwell too much here, so it's maybe a poison chalice a bit, but still, I think that there's life left in us and all the rest around. I actually, yeah, so that's hard to tell, but yeah.
Yeah, Test Case says Donegal out of the league because McBurty out with injury, Murphy retired also. Shane O'Donnell talent. Like maybe that is a bit of a positive. Like although you do have Paddy McBurty's injury, like some of the players you mentioned there, like Caelan McColgan and Johnny McCroddy, who've looked very good for Donegal. Shane O'Donnell since he's sort of come into the side in the last couple of years. Like although you have had Murphy retire and you have had McBurty injured, there's still a few players coming through despite the lack of underage success. So like if you're to cling on to positives, I'd imagine that's what.
Yeah, like the whole idea of us staying on one, of us putting on one man, and putting all our hope and dreams in one man, it's ours. And I feel that, it's probably, it's going to hurt us, that we were, the last few years, we were just so dependent on Michael Murphy and all the rest, and whatnot. Like, because all the great teams of the past were never one-man teams. Look at the Dubs, they won 5 in a row. I'm not saying we're going to achieve that, but the argument I would make is they didn't have one standout superstar. Can you name the best player of that team without any hesitation at all? You can't. Like, so exactly. I do think that it's good. So I think, I still think it's hard to tell, but look, we've plenty of talent, or and Ocean Gallen coming through looks good and whatnot. Like, so it's out there and all the rest. And I think Paddy Carr, Keelan McColgan and Conor O'Donnell, for example, they play Division 3, which is bought at the bottom of Donegal, and they both play in the two clubs that have never left the junior championship either in Donegal, like in the case of Carndonna and Leith Patrick. So like, they're definitely not they're definitely giving players of all chances on the rest. And I think if you had the wrong manager, he'd probably just pick, the best 15 from senior teams. So definitely they're doing right in that department and all the rest there. But, I just don't think we've seen the fruits of the labour yet. But I think, things can happen.
Yeah, do you think relegation is likely? Is what other people I think a lot of people are looking at Donegal and thinking it seems like regression and it seems like relegation is on the cards. I mean, you have 3 points from opening 4 games and a win in this one versus Armagh, and I think you'd be more, you'd be very close to safe. So, like realistically, one win from your final 3 games might be enough.
Might be enough, yeah.
But it is going to be tough, though.
In other years, the 5 points would have definitely, been enough for us to survive and all the rest. But now it's just so unrealistic. But like we've a minus 15 goal difference, I think, and Armagh have a -2 score difference. So like it's like I think score difference is probably what might hurt us. Like so all the rest. Like, but I think we're gonna beat Armagh there because I think we're in a bigger panic than Armagh in a way. And I also think, we left a lot on that pitch, against Armagh because we, that was by no means our best performance, the championship and all the rest. Like, so I think, we just want to put that to bed, but I don't think Armagh has that yet. Like, so yeah, I'm going to go for 2 points Donegal win against Armagh on Saturday. I know it's away, and Armagh have great fans, and plenty of them made that 300-mile journey to Kerry, but I still feel, I think, we'll beat Armagh, but as for Mayo, Roscommon. I don't know. It's probably too early to make predictions about that, but yeah, it's definitely an interesting one.
Yeah, like you do get the feeling like this is one of the must-win games for Donegal, as you said. Like play Mayo and Roscommon in your final two matches. Both sides might be in with a shout of a league final. They'll possibly have a lot to play for in their final two games. Keane also agrees with you here. He says, I can see Donegal winning. Armagh have fallen away from the top of the table, while the draw for Donegal with Galway was huge and gives them a massive incentive to push to cement their Division 1 status. Tom says, I'm not expecting either team showing the full hand for this one. Mayo to win, though, in regards to the Mayo Roscommon game. I mean, yeah, like for Armagh, I mean, one win from their opening four. They've had a few difficult games now, in fairness. I mean, obviously, going away to Kerry is never easy. We're seeing the form of Mayo as well. And I thought they defended fairly well against Kerry, in fairness. Kerry just probably had the slight edge on them with the home advantage. But, like, what have been your thoughts on Armagh? I mean, like, obviously there's a lot of hype around them at the minute in terms of pushing for Ulster. Like, do you think they're just looking too far ahead rather than too much focus on the league, or what do you think?
Too much focus on no. I think what has held back Armagh in recent years in Ulster has been they've put too much focus on the league and all the rest. I think Kieran Donaghy and Kieran McGinney are realising that there, and let's be honest, they are in a pretty, they haven't been in an Ulster final since 2008, but they're on a nice side of the Ulster draw. That includes us, Down, Antrim, and Cavan. Now, we are all capable of beating Armagh and all the rest, but, on current form, on paper, Armagh are probably the furthest ahead out of the lot, and all the rest. Like, yeah, we'll probably play them in a semi-final or rest, but, Down have done well in the McKenna Cup and they're looking good in Division 3, but I don't know what will happen there. But, yeah, I still feel our man stuff. It's all I think they'll do enough to survive, but I just don't know. If it's going to be as glorious as because they were nearly in the final there until Paddy McBurdy, probably one of the best clutch players in the country, came up, and saved the day for Donegal.
Yeah, like and they have, just looking at it here, like they played Galway and Tyrone in their final two games. Tyrone away from home on the final game. I mean, that could be a tasty one, especially when you look at both sides positions. I mean, that
it could be. If that's a real, I break down both of them to get relegated. At the start of the league and all the rest there, and it could come to fruition, and I stand by that there. Like, so, but it would be interesting to see, what happens in all the rest. But yeah, if either Armagh or Tyrone won that day, that could be the game that saves them up on all the rest. And even if it was a preseason friendly, Armagh and Tyrone are always, probably the greatest rivalry in Ulster, I'd say, or maybe Armagh, but yeah. So that would be pretty intense and all the rest there. But yeah, and then we've hopefully we go down to Roscommon having secured our Division 1 status, but beating Roscommon isn't beyond our reach either, though.
Yeah, I suppose to wrap up on this game, you're back in Donegal anyway. You're back in your own county for the victory here.
Yeah.
I'm going to go for Armagh. I think I might burst the bubble ever so slightly. I just think the home advantage, I think, will pay dividends. And I thought they looked good against Kerry. I thought they defended well. But I do think they need to go for Donegal's throat, though. I think they can't be as defensive as what they were against Kerry, but I certainly don't expect them to. In fairness, Galway versus Monaghan to finish up on Division 1. Monaghan with 2 wins from 2 in their last 2. 2 wins from 4 in total, and Galway with just the 1 win so far, but just the 1 defeat. Galway at home, always a tough place. In Monaghan, I suppose when they go outside of Clonus, they find it hard to pick up points and pick up victories. Can Monaghan keep the good run going, or can Galway?
Yeah, I think Monaghan are going to win it. I think, Galway, Comer hasn't been, he's had his own fitness issues there, but still plenty of talent there, and obviously a lot of younger Galway players are professional RS, but, Galway obviously have their eyes on Sam Maguire, and I take that there, and Shane Walsh seems to be out having his time in life in Australia, like every young Irish person, but he seems to, so I think, they're missing a few big names in all the rest. Monaghan don't have that. They seem to, have their full thing on board and all the rest, and Monaghan haven't won Ulster since 2015. So for a county that likes to see themselves as one of the best in Ulster, they have to, really get that there. And they've the second longest streak in Division 1 just behind Kerry. And it's something Monaghan, for counties they run All Ireland, they really wear that as a badge of honour in Monaghan. So they'll absolutely throw the kitchen sink at Galway to Monaghan. This is a championship game. To Galway, this is a league game, and that's the difference in mentality. But I think if they made championship, I'd give it to Galway. But in the league, I'm going to go for Monaghan, So yeah, I'm definitely going to swing in direction of Monaghan and all the rest, and I'm going to go for a 1.1 for Monaghan.
Yeah, like I mean, it'd be some statement for Monaghan if they could go away to Galway and get the victory. And I suppose Galway are missing players, as you mentioned, like Shane Walsh is away in Australia. And Damien Comer is injured. They've had to slowly integrate some players back into the side, like Peter Cook and Ian Burke. You definitely do get the sense that Galway are looking quite far ahead. And as Keane says here, playing it in Salt Hill will swing it for Galway, which might maybe play a big impact in the game, but. Yeah, it definitely is a tough one to call, in my opinion, because like I do get what you mean. Like Monaghan have looked very good in their last two, and I think there was a lot of expectation, maybe in a similar fashion with Donegal, that new management coming in, McManus is getting older, Monaghan, they're slowly going towards the end of an era, but in some ways, like they're introducing new younger players that are looking just as good. McManus is still, he's not the same player as 4 or 5 years ago, but he's still making an impact. Jack McCarron, the National League is his bread and butter. This is where he always tends to show up. And like things are looking quite rosy for Monaghan, and we didn't expect that at the start of the year.
Yeah. Like Donegal and Roscommon, the big thing was, how long it was taking manager. They had so many men linked with them. Sherlock, who's that former Dublin player coaching in the Kildare Championship? I forget his name. But
Anthony Rainbow, I think, was it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But
like there was multiple people that were really hosing in on that job and all the rest, and they were talking, that Malachy O'Rourke was contacted to come back and all the rest. But they gave the assistant manager a banty and all the rest there. But you know what, Vanny Corey, he has been involved in what he's like 39 now. He's been involved in Monaghan, this team, the last 20 years. He gave about 15 years playing career. Then he went into Banty's backroom team, and now he's the main man in the picture. So I definitely think he's going around the right way about all the rest there. So yeah, it's definitely good for Vinny Corey and stuff. And I think but they have a tough run in Ulster and all the rest, but still they're in the All Ireland series, and they looked good in that Super 8s in 2018. And they couldn't even get there in 2019. But you never know with Monaghan.
Yeah, like I'm gonna go for Galway, I think, to grind the victory, maybe by 1 or 2 points. I think this might be a similar type game to the one against Donegal and even against Tyrone as well. Like I think it will go down to the wire. Like I think we've seen Galway so far. They haven't played flashy sort of Galway traditional style football. It's been very pragmatic so far, but I think with the conditions and everything else, I think it will suit them. And I think they will grind out the victory. We'll move on to Division 2. And we'll have a look at the league table to remind ourselves. So Derry and Dublin both sitting in the top 2 positions there with 8 points. Cork are in 3rd with 4 points. Louder in 4th with 4 points. Meath are in 5th with 4 points. Kildare and Clare both locked level with 2 points. And Limerick sitting dead last with nothing so far. I suppose the main event of Division 2 would be Derry versus Dublin. In most people's eyes, it's obviously on RTE or TG Cahir. It's on one of the channels anyway. RTE, yeah. So Derry obviously at home, 4 wins from 4. Dublin with 4 wins from 4 as well. But both sides are in a different sort of feeling, I think. Like Derry, there's a real feel-good factor. They put Meath to the sword. They put Kildare to the sword. Whereas Dublin have sort of limped over the line in 3 of their 4 games. And even against Limerick at times, were actually quite flat, believe it or not. And when you look at how other teams have beaten Limerick, So what are you thinking here? I mean, Derry are going to be the favourites, which you couldn't have imagined.
It's strange, yeah. Last time Derry played Dublin in the league. Now, it was Division 1 in 2014, but it was also the 5th round of it there, and it was also in Celtic Park in Derry, and Derry did win, and it was one of 2 losses Dublin got that year. So, yeah, it was definitely they definitely got that in the same stuff. But, yeah, you said it was, I think Derry are going to do it. And by about 3 points. You said there it was the big show in Division 2, but I think it's the big show of all Gaelic football this week. I think it's going to be the best game of the whole lot. Pity, I would like to get to both that game and the Donegal game, but you probably can't do both this weekend. Just logistically, but I definitely think it's going to be good there. So let me just check. Yeah, so Derry on average through their 4 games, they have scored 75 points and they've only conceded 35 points in their games there. So like they're definitely going well and all the rest there, and against Kildare last weekend, they conceded 7 of them. Only 2 of them were from open play and all the rest. Like, so that's a great praise to their defence and all the rest there, and they've upped the ante in attack and all the rest. Rory Gallagher, when it comes to leagues, I've already said a million times of how good he really is with league form and all the rest there. And yes, so I think Derry definitely have got that edge and all the rest there, and I think they're a bigger threat when it comes to goals and all the rest. And I think there might be a bit of bad blood between the Glen and the Kilmacud players as well. You have to remember, so especially in Derry's backyard. So I absolutely think this is going to be a titanic clash, but I expect Derry to pull away in the last 10 minutes and all the rest there. And yeah, I predicted them to finish third and Kildare and Dublin to go up, but the Kildare one was a bad statement by me, but Dublin and Derry to go up probably and all the rest, unless, life causing upset. We'll touch on them later, but yeah.
Yeah, like I think, yeah, like I would edge towards Derry as well. I think, to be honest, I think it'll actually be quite comfortable for them as well. Like I get the feeling like Dublin might, the fact that it's a big game and it's one of those games that Dublin tend to get up for. Like, and I think they would have like when the fixture list would have come out, Dublin players, fans, management would have looked at the fixture list and thought, Derry away, that is going to be tough. Like we need to bring our A game for that. And it would at the same time be the perfect time for Dublin to turn the screw in terms of performances. And you think of the confidence it would give Dublin if they could go to Owen Bay, go to Derry in the form that they're in, beat them in their own backyard. All of a sudden, the mood, the feeling around Dublin completely switches. Now, I know the Dublin players won't care a sod about what the general fans think or anything like that. They're only focused on themselves, and obviously they're thinking bigger picture. But like a win against Derry, like it would give Dublin some amount of confidence. And who knows, like these two could play each other at some point further down the line as well.
Yeah. So it's difficult for Dublin, like, obviously, but the fact that they put in a bad performance against Clare and still won the game, I think that's a sign of a good team and all the rest. Like, I think it's a sign of maybe a mediocre team if you put in a good performance and don't get a result out of it and all the rest. That's the thing, So if Dublin at their worst is still winning games, and that's obviously a great compliment and all the rest. Like, but I think, and I feel like Dublin fans have been spoiled for choice. I feel some Dublin fans who were supporting them before 2011, are a bit more realistic, but others, younger ones, probably aren't and all that. It's probably like being a Man City fan before 2008, after 2008. You just don't know. It's just like two different expectations in life. But yeah, it's just it's interesting how the whole thing is going. But no, I absolutely see Derry there. And the way that look, it's going to be ugly. Derry are still playing 15 men behind the ball whenever the others are in possession. But when they can get to attack and stuff, like you see about 13 men can get ahead of the ball, and then that's it all just going out there, So I think, Rory Gallagher has found attacking solutions, and maybe that's what Derry lacked to get out of Division 2 last year when he lost 3 points, the draw against Roscommon, get beat by Galway, and that was probably, one of the feistiest encounters ever. And then obviously Galway found their boots again whenever it came to Cork and all the rest, but I definitely think, their increased attacking threat is going to be sung out, like, and their under 20s are probably favourite to win All Ireland too, like, so a lot of them will be in action in the later stages.
Yeah, I think so. Like, it's just like, as much as I'd love to see Dublin win this as a Dublin supporter, like I do have to, I suppose, remain unbiased, like during these preview shows. Like, and I think, I'd have to back Derry here. I just think they're far too strong. I worry how Dublin's defence can keep out Derry's goal threat. Like, looking at Dublin, they've conceded 4 goals in the opening 3 matches, or in the opening 4 matches. Just looking at it there, they conceded 2 goals against Cork, 1 against Limerick, and 1 against Clare. So it's just hard to see how that Dublin defence can keep the attackers out, I should say. Richie says, could see a draw in the Derry v Dublin will be a very tactical defensive game. Yeah, like Dublin have set up very defensively so far in their opening 4 games of the league, which hasn't made much sense. But actually, in a game like this, I think it actually probably would make sense. But it probably will, as you said, make it quite a slow and tactically boring game. But I am going to back Derry to get the victory. Limerick versus Meath is the next one. Both sides without a win in their last two. Limerick obviously without a win at all in the entirety of the league. Meath started the league with 2 wins themselves.
Yeah.
You'd have to surely back Meath here to get the victory.
Yeah, I would.
Limerick is out of their depth here.
I think they're going to win it by a point, Meath, but I still think they'll win it. Like, put it this way, right? What he called. I was talking to you there. The good thing about Division 1 this year is no whipping boys, and that's probably what Division 2 is lacking. I don't like it now that I don't like in Division. I feel it kind of destroys the whole competitive element of the whole thing. When there's one team who just gets battered, and whatnot. So I can say the same about probably Waterford in Division 4. But yeah, it's complete. It's frustrating really, like, for them. But obviously changing management and stuff and all the rest. Like, and when I on my own podcast, when I suggested would Billy Ryan step down as Limerick manager, I was only suggesting that because I think he took them as far as he possibly could, like, and he was just going to leave before the ship was going to sink. And that's what Ray Dempsey's got himself into. He's jumped on a sinking ship, I think, because Limerick, they're one of those teams and all the rest. Like, they get a few narrow wins in Division 3, and that's them up and ready and all the rest. But I just think it's going to be very, very tough for them to, get anything going there and whatnot. I know Meath haven't been having a great year, but at the end of the day, it is only Limerick. So I think, call opposition stuff, they're still better than Limerick. So yeah, they should be doing all the rest. And I still think, but Meath probably, I predict them to come 6th in Division 2, and I think that's probably a realistic prediction this far into the championship.
Yeah, I predicted the same as well. I think, I think Meath, I think it would be a bit of a disaster, to be honest. I think if they didn't win this game, I think in the opening 4 matches, especially with the opening 2 wins, you look at it and think there is progression there from Colm O'Rourke, like getting the win against Cork, the win against Clare as well, like 2 wins that will stand to them against teams they have struggled against down the years, but beaten by Derry comprehensively, as we very well know, and obviously a disappointing defeat last week to the rivals Loud. So I agree with you there. Like, I am going to go with me to get the victory. I think it'll be by 4 or 5, but Meath every now and again they do tend to have a howler in them, so you never quite know. But I think they should have enough to get the win. We've Loud against Kildare, two neighbours as well, 2 rivals. Loud, getting the win against Meath last week. What a statement it would be if they could go back-to-back weekends, beating Meath and Kildare, and firmly put themselves in the promotion hunt. Kildare, bit of a disastrous season for them. The third worst defense across all 4 divisions, and the worst attack in the top 2 divisions as well. They're just absolutely all over the place. So, a big opportunity for Loud.
Yeah. I think like, I don't know what it is with Kildare. Kildare always put in a good 15-minute shift against Dublin, be it in later championship or the league, and then they just go out and just fail to impress anyone. Like, it's nearly like, it's just like, I already mentioned earlier in the show, out of the 7 points they got against Derry, only 2 of them were from open play. So I think that just tells you everything you need to know. Now, I was, losing to Derry isn't the problem, but it's when you lose by 14 points against, a team out there. And the one thing that Kildare has that the Derry doesn't have is Division 1 experience. So it's kind of tough on the rest. It's probably a positive. One positive is probably, was Kevin Feely probably rushed back too quick? Maybe, I don't know. There's many other factors and all the rest. And I have a great appreciation for Glenn Ryan, what he's done for Kildare. He's a man who lives and breathes Kildare football. But you kind of feel like the whole thing when Jack O'Connor left them for Kerry last year, and Davy Burke said he was taking the whole year out, and now they're Dave Glenn Ryan, and you look at how well Davy Burke, a Kildare man, and it's when he has successful Wicklow, it always looked like, and the Kildare under 20s always looked like his destination was to become a Kildare boss. But look, he's doing better with a Division 1 team now, so it's hard to see what next for Kildare, but favourites for the Tailteann Cup, same side of the draw as Dublin. I don't know in all the rest, but I think Louth are going to win it. Like, I just looking by the first 4 games, Louth had a good performance against Derry too. So Yeah, it's just it's gonna be absolute. I'm gonna have to go ours there, and I think Louth are they have to go ours because Louth. I think Louth are gonna beat them by about 6 or 7 points, and that's been pretty
Wow.
kind, really. And that's not trying to. And if one thing with Louth, that Leonard boy, Jack Leonard boy, looks good as well. Louth have become more than just a one man team as well. Because it's okay being a one man team in Division 3 and 4, and that's great. Beating a bunch of counties who might have less than 20 GA clubs, but now you're going up. You're mixing with the bigger boys, but they've definitely shown that they're good enough all the rest. And I think Mickey Hart, I think if he can do something with Louth this year, and if he can get them, in the top 3 of this division, I think that solidifies him as the greatest Gaelic football manager of all time. But that's a different discussion for another day. But yeah, I think it's definitely a great year. It's a great reflection on Mickey Hart. But it would be funny. It'd be funny if Louth went up and Tyrone went down. That would genuinely be the funniest thing ever. And I'm not saying that as a Donegal man. I'm genuinely not but just the whole thing. That they only give Mickey Hart. They were only giving Mickey Hart 3 years when he wanted 1 year in the whole thing. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it goes.
Yeah. That would be quite bizarre, right? I mean, I'm sure Tyrone fans, if they were to answer that, they'll say, "Well, we won the All Ireland in 2021," which in fairness they did. But things weren't generally this poor, consistently. I think for Mickey Hart with Tyrone, I know he kind of had there was a bit of a blip period, sort of transition out of the side in the 2000s into the 2010s, but generally speaking, things probably weren't as poor as what they are right now for Tyrone. But as you said, I don't expect Louth to win as comfortably as that, but I do expect them to beat Kildare. I just when you actually look at Louth's results in the opening 4 games, they were narrowly beaten on the opening day by Clare. I think there was a late decision that went against them. Against Derry, there was a couple of late scores as well that Derry got to win that game. So when you think about it, Louth could have been sitting there with 4 wins from 4, which would have been absolutely outstanding, and they would have been firmly up in the promotion hunt. And in many ways, they still are, because they played Dublin in the final game. But I mean, it's been sensational for Louth, really, and no one saw it coming.
Yeah, I think Kildare and is it Limerick they play next, or or have they really?
Yeah, they play Limerick. I think they play. Just looking at it here, they play. They play Kildare, play Limerick, and then they also play Meath in their final 2 games.
Yeah, see, I can see Kildare beating Meath, maybe staying up, and even staying up, even beating the drop is gonna make the the whole division. It's still going to be very hard for them to stay in the All Ireland series. Obviously because they're on the same side of the draw as Dublin and all the rest. While so I just don't know what Kildare because that whole it's probably a bit like when Tipperary won that minor All Ireland in 2011. People were really expecting them to kick on, become great size, and all right, with the exception of that Munster title, they never really on the 2016 they were fillers. And I think that's the same thing with Kildare and the under 20 and all the rest. But other counties around them probably have maybe multiple ones within maybe a 5-year period, but maybe Kildare's was just a one-off, but still feel that they haven't really utilized. You have to remember that was 5 years ago at this stage. They won the under 20s, and they'd all be around 25 now. They should be in the peak of their lives, Kildare, but it should never be like this for Kildare.
Yeah, it's a strange one, all right. And they won the under 20 Leinster Championship as well last year. Kildare, I think they played in the All Ireland final as well, from what I remember.
Yeah.
So it is a little bit strange that Kildare just aren't quite getting the buy-in from younger players, and you'd look at it and think Davy Burke just would have been the perfect man for this scenario, because he knew the players inside and out that played at under 20 level. But yeah, I think we're both going with the Louth victory, which is definitely a surprise in some ways when you think about it at the start of the year. But I think right now the form of both sides and how poor Kildare have looked, I think there's no surprise tipping Louth to get the victory. We've Clare versus Cork, 2 Munster sides going up against each other. You've actually a lot of teams in the same province playing each other this weekend, and this is obviously another one. Clare, I mean, they've played well a lot of the time in their opening 4 matches, but relegation, it's going to be tough for them to get out of this, I think.
Yeah, Clare, I think it's going to be they've been put to the sword and all the rest, and they've so many ambitious performances and all the rest. But I think, the feeling I think with Clare is they're a good performance, but in the first 10 minutes, if a goal or two goes in, if goals come in early, they fall apart. And I think that's what Cork's capable of doing. Now, I know Limerick are not, I called them the Whipping Boys Division 2, and I still stand by that statement. But what I would say is that I think, they can get a few goals against Clare, and that's going to be the difference. I think, the confidence will be knocked out of them more. So it's going to be, I think, yeah, it's an Ennis. It's going to be tough and stuff and all the rest, but they know the pitch better than maybe the Cork players. But, Cork probably, or it's kind of like Cork kind of think, it's very embarrassing from a Cork perspective if they can, good point, Richie. It's a good, I just think, they don't like losing to like Tipperary, Clare, Limerick or anything. It's very embarrassing for Cork, when they lose to a non-Kerry Munster side, they like to see themselves all rest. So I just think there's that extra bite in them and all the rest. And yeah, John Cleary, he struggled in the first game or two, but I think he's, especially when Meath gave them a good beating in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. But they found their rhythm again and all the rest. And I've no doubt, they'll do enough to survive. And next year, I think with Dublin and Derry gone up to Division 2, I think there's a realistic chance they can go up and all the rest. But that's a year for them to absolutely rebuild. And you know what? There's a good chance they can stay in the All Ireland series as well.
Yeah. Richie says here, Clare, really good side, very unlucky with some results. Yeah, they have been quite unfortunate as well. I think. Clare, they're always tough to beat in Ennis, and Cork have had a lot of inconsistent results down the years, and there wouldn't be I wouldn't be the slightest surprise if they went and lost this game. But you're looking at Cork the joint best attack across all four divisions alongside Leitrim. 6 goals in their last game. They blew Kildare away. They should have beat Dublin. A couple of decisions went against them that day as well. So I just look at it and think Clare have played quite well in the last couple of games. But I think it would have took a lot out of them, in my opinion. So I agree with you. I'm going to go for Cork to get the win there. We'll move on to Division 3, and this is how the league table looks at the minute. So Cavan sitting top with 8 points. Fermanagh in second with 6 points. Down in third with 6 points. Westmeath and Offaly both mid-table with 4 points. Antrim just outside the relegation zone with 2 points. And Tipperary and Longford in the relegation zone with just a single point. First game, Fermanagh versus Tipperary. Fermanagh, I remember you tipped them to reach an Ulster final this year, so you definitely backed them to have a strong year. And in fairness, 3 wins from their opening 4, and they'll be heavy favourites to win this one as well.
Yeah. Any Fermanagh fan I knows, and I know, they all dislike the Tailteann Cup. They really feel. I don't know. It's not like I'm not gonna. It's not as if Fermanagh have a strong history, but it's just due to the fact they border Donegal and Tyrone, and when they hear their mates across the border talking up All Irelands and all the rest, they kind of want to be playing Donegal and Tyrone and all the rest and all the big lads and all the rest. So they definitely want that there. And I think, they can definitely, I think, they'll want Tipperary. Tipperary, probably Paddy Christie stepping away from the backroom team hasn't been doing so well. Hasn't been doing well for Paddy Christie either. I think it's for both parties, it looks to have been catastrophic, really, and all the rest. But they did, you have to remember, Tip there, just fresh out of Division 4, where I predicted them to be in 2 years ago. I always have a surprise prediction on me every year, and but no, Tipperary, they have goals and stuff but they just don't have the strong team and all the rest that they used to, and I feel there's a lot of mileage on the clock of Tipperary and all the rest. I just don't feel like that 2020 Munster winning team. I just don't feel like they're in the autumn of their careers and all the rest. So it's a bit of a rebuilding job and staying up there. And I think, Fermanagh are looking about, getting to Croke Park, and potentially winning silverware, and obviously, they probably would be underdogs against Cavan, but still they're capable of beating Cavan. It wouldn't be the world's biggest shock. So yeah, I would have to go Fermanagh, and Sean Quigley is looking to be, one of the best forwards in Ulster this year. He's always had that class in them, Morris, and it's good to see the 2019 St. Michael's Hogan winning cup team coming to fruition.
Yeah, like I think at home, the home advantage, the Sean Quigley factor. Like Sean Quigley's been like Superman and Fermanagh. I mean, he scored a lot, winning goals in the last 2 matches and really sort of dragged them out of the dirt. But I think this game will be a bit more comfortable then, comfortable for them. And as you said there, like just all doesn't seem right with Tipperary, retirements, injuries. Paddy Christie stepping away from the management team. I just think that the sort of golden generation of Tipperary, unfortunately, is long behind us now. Northern Ireland Railways says Dublin fans will probably travel in big numbers to Derry. They can just get the train. Nice promotion there from Dublin to Belfast, then Belfast to Derry. Yeah, like I am undecided on going at this moment in time. To be honest,
personally, from now, I am a regular commuter. We usually cause services are more frequent in Derry than they are in Buncrana to Dublin. So I'm going to Dublin as someone who commutes quite often. I can tell you, buses are probably more frequent. Now, I do prefer trains. I do prefer the comfort of trains more. But you're looking about 3.5 hours on bus, and maybe but you have to get 2 hours up to Belfast, and and then you might have to wait a bit in Belfast to get the train to Derry. It's probably not the best factor there to get there, but still, I would probably slide for the buses more. RS and you drive in RS there, and both TransLink and are very good at providing it. But yeah, that's what I would say about that there in RS6. So yeah, RS. So yeah.
I think that some good travel tips definitely there for the L Dublin supporters. I think stopping off in Belfast for a few cheeky points now. I certainly wouldn't be against that one, but we shall wait and see whether I go to it or not. I'm not 100% sure. To be fair, I think I might be cutting it a bit short now at this stage with tickets and everything else. But moving on anyway, we have Cavan versus Down. Obviously, 2 Ulster sides as well. Cavan have looked very strong so far with 4 wins from 4. Down, though, definitely very much still in the promotion hunt. 3 wins from 4. Big result versus Westmeath the last day. So what are we thinking here? I mean, Cavan will be the favourites, but look, Down Down are looking all right at the minute.
Yeah. After years of being on a downward spiral, no pun intended, Down finally, looked to find their feet in Division 2. I think, the only, they lost every single game last year. And the only game where they showed a bit of ambition, I think, was that Talton Cup opening round against Cavan and all the rest. And I think they're going to win it by a point. I think I'm going to give Down the edge by a point. If Cavan won the game, that's it. They're up to Division 2. Yeah. They're back, within the All-Ireland series and everything, is gone back to normal for Cavan. But I think, Down, when you're in third place and all the rest, like the most motivated a third place team is going to be as match day 5, because they know if they lose it, it's going to make it very hard for them to get straight back up. But if they win it, they're right back, in contention and all the rest, and it's all looking good and all the rest. I think, there's that firepower. That Murdoch boy looks good as well for Down and all the rest. And Conor Laverty, he seems to have got the Kilcoo lads on board, and that was always the probably drawback, holding back Down recent years. But finally, Down have finally got that fire in their bellies once again. So absolutely, I think, Down have definitely got that rhythm in them again and RS there. So yeah, I'm going to give it there, but it was earlier in the league. I'd probably give it to Cavan, but I just think we'll be match day 5. This is, going to be the perfect time for Down to get a result.
Yeah, because you do look at it and you think Cavan don't necessarily need to win this game. They've had 4 wins from 4 already. Their final 2 fixtures are against Antrim and Fermanagh. Fermanagh one is at home, and Cavan's record against Fermanagh can be, I suppose, a little bit dubious against Fermanagh down the years. But I think with that game being at home, you'd give them the edge. So they don't necessarily need to win this game, and you do wonder, will there be a slip up in the league at some point? But I don't know. I still think there's a bit of work to be done and Down for them to reach Cavan's level. But at the same time, I do think Cavan might start thinking further ahead, possibly towards Ulster at some point. So I think I might go for a draw maybe here. I think, or do you know, I think I'll edge it to Cavan. I think by 1 or 2 points, just by the smallest of margins. We've Westmeath versus Antrim. Westmeath 2 wins from their opening 4. Antrim with 1 win from their opening 4. Westmeath were most people's favourites coming into Division 3, given the fact they won the Tailteann Cup. But it's fair to say that it hasn't really gone according to plan with two defeats in there. One to Down, one to Cavan. And Antrim, on the other hand side, have competed very well in their opening 4 matches. So Westmeath would be the favourites, but like Antrim could possibly cause a big upset here.
Yeah. They got in a great coach in Andy McEntee. I think, definitely in the right rhythm. As for Westmeath, I always talked, about, Billy Lee stepping down earlier because he maybe took the team as far as he could. And, obviously I know Joe Cooney is going for a much safer job, let's say, and a job where he can, develop G and all there. But I think, it hasn't been, it's kind of, or the new management bounce hasn't really came in for Desi Dolan and Jason Sherlock quite yet, and all the rest. But I think they'll get to they're on the other side of the draw to Dublin and Kildare in Leinster final. So I think there's a Leinster final in them. But as for, I'm going to go Antrim. I think, that's the time where they're going to have to start turning their results into wins. And I think, I know it's in Mullingar, but I think, Antrim, like, they definitely have, players in there. Like, they definitely have Oran Eastwood and many other players and whatnot. Like, and I think, you're looking at about the worst team in Ulster, are probably, I'm going to tell them to beat the 5th best team in Leinster, but I still think, Antrim are a good team, like, and they often run teams like Cavan and many others close, when they're in, they up until about match day 6, they were right in contention for Division 2 promotion last year. And, that you can't just take that stuff away. There's still that fire there and all the rest there. And, Declan Lynch, he's probably on his day could be one of the best captains in the GAA.
Yeah, no, like I think like that, like when I was making my predictions for the league at the start of the year, like I pretty much had Antrim at the bottom, and I struggled to see where they'd stay up. But fair play, like they've done very, very well, and I think they've given themselves a huge chance of staying up. I think Westmeath have probably looked a little bit further ahead at times. They obviously have Sam Maguire place already wrapped up, which means that there isn't that much emphasis on getting out of Division 3. But at the same time, I have been disappointed with their performances because they will want to build, and they're not guaranteed a Sam Maguire Cup place, the following year in 2024 or 2025. So, like, I think they need to start building, and I think they will get the victory here by 4 points to keep themselves in the promotion hunt. Longford against Offaly. Longford without a win so far. It hasn't been good from a Longford fan perspective, whereas Offaly, a little bit of inconsistency there as well. But I suppose for Liam Kearns, he's a very young side, and there's been a couple of changes, and a few fresh faces like Keane Farrell coming back in. So you'd fancy Offaly here, but big opportunity for Longford maybe to at home to put in a statement win. But it'd be hard to see them to do it here.
Yeah, I think it's obviously been a theme of this episode talking about teams that have great honorary success. And as for Offaly, it's too early to judge, how much their under 20 success means. But the only thing I would say, I think it's going to be a draw. I think this is, if Longford are going to get any results, it's going to be in a Midlands derby against Offaly. I know they're North Midlands, South Midlands, but still, they often play each other quite often and all the rest there. And yeah, I do think they have each other right at their doorstep. So I do think I know Longford and Kildare are the two teams that haven't got a goal yet. Yeah, that's fair enough for us. But I think Paddy Christie, this match day 5 is the make or break moment, and this is the time where he has to prove to they're like, and sure, they still have so many, Mickey Quinn, great servant and all the rest, and they do have good players too, so I think I think this is this can be the one. So I'm going to go for a draw. Maybe I'm fence sitting here, but but Offaly have been a bit hit and miss and all the rest, but still I feel Longford could do something against an experimental Offaly.
Yeah, like I think if you had said that result maybe after preseason, I think a lot of people would have agreed. I think you would look at Offaly and think they just do seem that bit stronger. But I do agree with you, like Midlands Derby, form goes out the window, all the rest. And you could see Longford causing a bit of a rattle in this Offaly side. But I am going to go for Offaly by the smallest of margins. Moving on to Division 4 then. This is how the league table stands. So we've Leitrim on top with 6 points, alongside Laois with 6 and Sligo with 6 as well. Wexford and Wicklow are in 4th and 5th with 5 points. Carlow with 3 points, and London and Waterford being cut adrift in 7th and 8th. Looking at the fixtures then, we've Sligo versus Wexford. Both sides obviously on the up. Sligo with 3 wins in their last 3. Wexford building a bit of momentum as well. Tough one to call this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough one to call. It's the battle, of the Northwest v the Southeast. But I think Wexford are gonna do it there. Like, Sligo, they've been having us and stuff like. But I think I predicted Wexford for the Dalton Cup. Like, I felt Division 4 is going to be easy and stuff like, and they've got a backroom team for the first time in a long time. It seems to be all Wexford men who know Wexford inside out. Now, it hasn't been plain sailing for them, but I think they've finally do you know what I think match day 5, it's when seasons can turn around and stuff like, and I understand it's Division 4 and they don't have to worry about relegation and stuff like, but they want to go on, get their points up and all the rest there, and maybe become a 3rd seed in the Talton Cup draw, or maybe you don't want to be bottom seed. So I think that's probably what they're looking into, so I definitely think they have that there. And Sligo's first championship game is 5 days after, if they get well, it's about 2 weeks after, but they have a shorter gap between championship and league there, and I think they're going away to London too. Like, so I'm definitely going to have to give Wexford points here, but I think if they play in championship, I'd give Sligo. But I think when it comes to league, I think Wexford have it in them.
Yeah, I don't know. I think with Wexford, they're another one of there's plenty of teams up and down the country that are very, very hard to predict, and I'm not fully bought into Wexford just yet. Like, I think they need to consistently put a run of results. I think a win here would definitely, all of a sudden, you think Wexford are surely starting to build something now. But I think Sligo at home, having the home of advantage, Tony McEntee, I just think Sligo will edge it, in my opinion, by 2 points. Wicklow versus Leitrim is another big game, and again, it's 2 sides up near the top in the promotion races. As Keane says here, Ockram is always a tough place to go, but Leitrim, who have started brightly in Division 4, should have too much ammunition for Wicklow on Sunday, and they should remain in the promotion race up Leitrim. So there we go. I mean, big game, and you get the feeling that this is almost a bit like, has a bit of a championship feel to it, because it's a chance to get promoted. Both of these 2 sides, as you said, won't be competing obviously for an All-Ireland. And even a Tailteann Cup. I mean, Leitrim might have a chance at a Tailteann Cup, in fairness. Maybe Wicklow might give it a go as well. But it's a huge game for both of these 2.
Yeah, I think Keane said it quite. I think Keane said it quite clear and all right. Leitrim too much ammunition. You already mentioned them and Cork have the joint best attacking record in the league, so that should be enough. Like, regardless of how much Wicklow scored. Now, Wicklow beat Laois, last week. So that was a massive statement, for all the rest there. Don't get me wrong. I don't, nothing against either Andy Moore or Oshie McConville, but they're 2 men who probably whose playing careers massively helped them into getting into the inter-county scene. I know they've done stuff at club level, even Sigerson level as well, but that's definitely give them a boost, and they definitely have to prove, their credentials as a manager too. Like, so I'd definitely be interested to see what either of them can muster up and whatnot. Like, so yeah, it'd be interesting. I predicted Leitrim to win Division 4 and get the Connacht final, because they're on the nice side of draw out the 3 big hitters. So I don't even. I think they'll get to the All-Ireland series, but I doubt it's going to be pretty a dull affair there. But still, it's but I think they have too much ammunition. I think Wicklow are going to score a lot, but Leitrim are just going to score more. I'm going to give them a 4.1 for Leitrim. I know it's away in Ockram and all the rest, but I think Leitrim, they finally built a good team together, and they built a team, that can be a solid bottom half Division 3 team. Probably a little bit too good for Division 4, but yeah.
Yeah, like it's a tough one, all right. I think this game is definitely going to test the mettle of this Leitrim side. Like as you said, they do have the joint best attack alongside Cork. Like 3 of their wins have come against Waterford, London, and Carlow, and you would look at them 3 probably as 3 of the worst sides in the country. With all due respect, I mean, London, to be fair, have a much smaller base to work with than any other county. I mean, Waterford do as well with the hurling resources and everything else, but. Yeah, like I think it will be tough for them, but I do agree. Like I think they'll just narrowly come through it. I think Wicklow maybe just have a little more to work on under Rushy McConville.
What I would say about Leitrim beating London, I think it's a great plaudit that the smallest county in Ireland of 29,000 people was able to upset the odds and beat one of the biggest cities in Europe of 14 million. Even though Leitrim of 24 clubs, London of 15 clubs, but whatever. It's just the way it goes.
It's one of those weird sort of facts in the GAA. Like if you said that to any other Joe Soap who didn't understand GAA, they think, Jesus, that's a mad achievement. All GAA fans and
that's pretty standard.
No, the crack there, but yeah, Richie also says Ockram can be a tough place to go. It definitely is. It's a tough place to get to as well. I can tell you that. I can tell you that much. And you can get lost trying to find the ground and everything else. And certainly for Leitrim, it will be quite the commute, sort of going into the Midlands and everything else, or going through the Midlands. But yeah, I'm going to go with Leitrim to nick it. I think by 2 points, in my opinion. London versus Carlow, 2 sides that very much out of the promotion race. London obviously at home. I mean, London at home always a tough team to beat, and I kind of fancy them to win this one. I think
I'm going to go with Carlow because I think Carlow were embarrassed when they got beat by London and New Westcommon Park last year. So it's kind of like I feel like they've kind of a bone pick. So I think the motivations there, even though the game doesn't really mean much. I think they're all preparing for championship and whatnot. But still, I think out there, and I'm sure Carlow lads be going over. It'll be a great weekend in RS, and I'm sure the diehard Carlow football supporters, it's great. I think that's the one thing Division 4 fans get to enjoy. Is just the joy of going over making a weekend of yourself over in London. But whatever, it's gonna be. A good, Ruislip is a tough ground, to go to. They definitely have those records, but I think Carlow I think they're just a bit disappointed with how things went last year, and I think they really want to shape up and massively change the standards, and all the rest, because expecting all the rest again, like London, the only problem with London, I think, going forward is just probably lack of resources, because only one GA club in London has their own GA pitch, and the rest of them just rent off rugby clubs. So it's obviously going to be a tough resource thing. But I definitely think there's going to be a lot of there. But yeah, I'll have to go with Carlow. But
yeah, Mikey says here, just in relation to the into the last game we discussed, Leitrim already lost away to Wexford, and Wicklow are a better home team. Yeah, look, it is a fair point, in fairness, and like the big test that Leitrim have had so far, I suppose they have been beaten, but I do think Wexford are better than people give them credit for, and I actually think they've proved a lot more than Wicklow in my opinion so far, and I think Wicklow are more of an up and coming side, whereas Wexford probably have the better players. But what you would say is Wicklow have actually shown more, I think, than Wexford in the last couple of years, if that makes sense. Keane says London to win this one. I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
And Mar is a good manager. He knows his
I would agree.
Yeah, no, he definitely does. And last but not least, Laois and Waterford. What are we thinking here, Laois? I suppose sitting top. Could Waterford cause the shock?
We'll take. I'm a man's break the shock. But no, I'm not stooping that low. I'm not going that far. I really am not. And I think Laois would be nearly embarrassed at how they lost to Wicklow. I say nothing against Wicklow, but Laois, probably feel they're too big for Division 4, even though they're there because they just weren't good enough in Division 3. But you have to go Laois, I would really there's,
Yeah, no, like
do you know what I'm going to say? If you put Port Arlington, who done quite well in the Leicester Championship, I think if you put them against Waterford, they'd give them a good run for the money. That's a club team in Leash. And I'm not here to run down Waterford, but that's the kind of level we're talking about. Like, the top half of Division 4 and the bottom half of Division 4 are just completely different. So I would have to go out and just say, yeah, I just I have to say Leash, and all the rest. I just so for the Waterford fans that are there and all the rest. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it's kind of hard to see and all the rest. Again, I only my only worry is that will Waterford survive the football team? Will they go down the Kilkenny route of just abandoning the inter-county football? Hopefully not. Yeah.
Yeah, Richie says here, keeper and one of the best footballers in the country, putting points over from ridiculous angles. He certainly is top scorer, I believe, in the league so far this year as well. Niall says, good review, lads. Keep up the good work. Aaron, yeah, much appreciated, Niall. Appreciate the comment. Much appreciated. And Northern Ireland Railway says, Laois won Leinster in 03. What a 20-year turnaround. Yeah, and like you've got Wexford in there with them, who have been a team who've competed very well in Leinster down the years. But yeah, I think Laois all day long for the victory. Yeah. Any players to watch this weekend, or any bets of the weekend, or anything like that, do you think?
Any players to watch? Yeah. So it's going to be tough on RSIC, but yeah. Let me go one division. From a Donegal perspective, I think Johnny McGrody can be good there. I'll pick a player per division. Maybe I think Division 1, maybe Rory Canavan could really give his best for Tyrone. Division 2, I think if they give Matthew Downey a chance, or Mark Doherty, one of the young lads who could even go off with under 20s there, this could be a big game for them to really baptize their careers. And Division 3, there is definitely a few good shouts in Division 3. And there was a player on mine there. Oran Murdoch has been unreal for Down and whatnot. Like, and that game's on the BBC iPlayer, GA Go, depending on what say the border. So I mean, if you're watching that game, going to be out there. And Division 4, I'm going to go with Jack Lavin, the under 20 Sligo player, who's played was captain of them winning Connacht last year, but he's definitely he's been like a duck to water to the senior team this year. Like, so definitely I think he can definitely have an impact. So yeah.
Yeah, no, like I think in terms of players to watch, I mean, the most interesting battle I think is Fenton up against Glass in midfield. I think Dublin and Derry,
two best midfielders.
Yeah. Rolls Royce midfield up against each other in in Division 2. Like, I think it would be an absolute spectacle to see them two go up against each other. And Rory Canavan, I think, is a great show. I think I want to see him start versus Kerry. I think you want to see him start on TV and everything else. Big opportunity, of course, against Kerry to make your name. So I think what an opportunity it would be for him, provided he does start. Well, Patrick, cheers very much for coming on the show. Obviously, your own podcast, GA Zone.
Yeah.
Where can people find it?
We do live streams on Facebook when we get going in summer. So like us on Facebook, I guess, when it comes there, and we have our own Spotify and wherever you get your podcasts as well. So that's what I would give a run out there and all that. And I'm hoping just about more social media content and stuff. Like, it's not easy. Been the last semester of course and all that, but still we're ready to go out and get things going. Yeah. So hopefully you're all doing well and whatnot. And yeah, so hopefully, yeah. And hopefully it's a great weekend of football for everybody.
Perfect.
Except for bad people.
Yeah. Perfect. Maybe one last comment, actually. Richie Ryan says Jack Lavin to be a star.
Easily.
That's a good point. Well, yeah, cheers, Patrick, for coming on. Cheers, anyone who tuned in. Hit the like button and subscribe, and we'll speak to you all soon.